Hi, my name is Kristin Snowden. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in the state of California, and I'm also a life coach. Today, we're going to be talking about signs that might indicate that your partner is cheating on you or having an affair. I do several videos along this similar subject matter on betrayal trauma, betrayal blindness, unhealthy relationship patterns, and generally why we tend to struggle in relationships with others. So feel free to check out the other videos that are linked below. Some of them are strongly related to this subject matter in case you want to know more. And I also have a website with a lot of this information written up. I approach this subject very carefully because I know that many people are going to come to find this video because they are in crisis. They're going to have a really strong intuition that something is going dreadfully wrong in their relationship and they're searching for answers. So that is probably going to be the majority of people that are going to find this video. And I first would like to caveat it with the fact that it's not 100% true. But most of my clients who come to me with an instinct or intuition that their partner is cheating on them tend to be correct, fortunately or unfortunately. I know family law attorneys who also say most often when their client comes to them thinking that their partner has been cheating on them, more often than not, they're also correct. I think it's because our instincts and intuition are extremely strong and we pick up on these signs, but the fear of losing this partner and the pain that you experience when you're going through this crisis with your partner tend to cause us to be blind to what's happening, what's really happening, and all the signs. So I would encourage you to look at the betrayal blindness video that I have along with the gaslighting video. So let's start. Here are signs that your partner is having an affair. Sign 1, your gut just tells you so. First and foremost, if your instincts, your intuition, that gut, that kind of belly feel you have is telling you that something is just not right, something is not measuring up, then more likely than not, you're right. And if you're struggling with it, that's very confusing, or again, your fear of losing the relationship is overpowering your gut instincts, I would encourage you to find some trusted friends or family members and kind of tell them what's going on and see what their input is. If it tends to match your gut instincts, then I would encourage you to have a conversation with your partner if it's safe. And actually, I'd encourage you to have a conversation with your partner with any kind of professional therapist that can help guide the conversation in a healthy, safe way. Sign number 2 is that there is criticism out of nowhere. So at this point, you feel like your marriage has been relatively good. Maybe there's been some hiccups or some tensions or things that you need to work on. But suddenly there has been an inexplicable and rampant escalation of marital issues between you and your partner. One minute you feel like your marriage is good with typical marital issues. Then the next minute you feel like your partner is expressing that he or she has lost feelings for you. He or she's verbalizing that he or she's been considering divorce or separation, which you find to be kind of shocking. And maybe he or she doesn't hope that there's an ability to fix the marriage. Another thing is that your partner will tend to have a quickly growing list of criticisms and issues about the marriage and how you might treat your partner. While you might feel like some of these issues are fixable, your partner expresses that they're not fixable and doesn't seem to be interested in your attempts to repair them. Sign number 3, and this is a very common, almost 100% of my clients find this tendency, which is that you find that your partner has rewritten your entire relationship history. So let me give you an example of a client that I had. I was seeing a client that was in the middle of an affair, which is not uncommon. Sometimes I see clients when they discovered an affair and they're trying to recover from it. I see clients who have been victimized by their partner having an affair, or have been betrayed by that. And I also have clients who sometimes seek me out when they are in the midst of an affair and they are trying to sort out where to go from there. But when that is happening, something that I see all the time is when they're in the affair, their story of their marriage is an extremely negative one. So I had a client who was in an affair, and he reported to me that he was pressured into getting married by his wife, that he questioned whether or not he ever really loved his wife. He explained that the sex wasn't that great and the passion really wasn't ever there. And he claimed that their courtship lacked that spark. Now, fast forward, the affair ended for many different reasons. And then he and his wife decided to move forward with reconciling after the affair was discovered for many different reasons. And then after many months of being in couples counseling and working on a lot of issues about how the affair happened and issues related to their relationship and the marriage, etc., many months. Suddenly, the story of he and his wife changed dramatically. I think at one point the client explained that she's my soulmate, she always has been, singing her praises, explaining that their relationship, aside from during the affair, had been very hot and heavy, and that their courtship was very romantic. Now, I'm going to do a video separately on why the narrative tends to change so dramatically. But in general, I want you to understand that basically when someone is having an affair and they are betraying their partner, they can kind of wrap themselves and compartmentalize all they want, but they still struggle. Their instincts are strong too, and they know they're doing something really crummy to their partner by running around behind their back, lying to their faces, things like that. So they call this a cognitive dissonance, where you want to move forward with an affair, but you know it gives you lots of yucky feelings, but you don't want to be hindered by these yucky feelings. You want to keep moving forward with the affair because it's exciting or whatever. And so you have to kind of develop a narrative in your brain that, for lack of a better term, lets you sleep with yourself at night. So it's very common for people to kind of rewrite history and say, my husband has been an asshole, so I deserve to get my needs met in this way, or I continue to ask my husband to meet my needs and he just won't listen to me. He must not love me. Or a husband saying, I don't get the love and attention, appreciation that I deserve from my wife, so I have the right to pursue this other woman who needs me more and wants me more and expresses how amazing I am. So there's a lot of focus on the negative of the relationship and of the partner when a person is having an affair. And then often the guilt from the affair becomes so overwhelming inside of them that it also comes out in a way of kind of lashing out at the partner, at the primary partner. So they have all these feelings going on inside that are making them feel really yucky from the lying and gaslighting. And so it comes out in a lot of negativity and a lot of criticism towards the primary partner. Sign number 4 that your partner is engaged in an affair. There is a strong emphasis on passion or lack thereof when you and your partner are talking about what's wrong in the marriage. In my office, I often hear things like, well, we just don't have enough passion, or our sex just isn't passionate enough, or we've just never had that special something, that spark, that chemistry, don't you think? Or you're just really boring, or this is just really boring, or don't you think we'd find better partners somewhere else? These have been common things expressed to partners of someone who is cheating, and very common to hear in my office. Unfortunately, these are very, very painful things to hear from someone that you've committed your life to. It's not rocket science to understand why a partner is suddenly so focused on the concept of passion or intensity in the relationship, or excitement, or the absence of all of it in your relationship. Obviously, they're pointing out the lack of passion or intensity or excitement in the marriage because they're often experiencing it outside the marriage. So obviously, the lack of it being present is much more obvious. And also it's kind of goes in there when I said that they need to kind of justify in their mind why they're acting out this way and lying or sneaking around, gaslighting, etc. This is one of the justifications as well. It's important to note, as painful as hearing these things might be, that someone having an affair doesn't really realize that this passion or intensity that's experienced during an affair is experienced in a vacuum. Outside of the monotony of everyday life and stressors, it tends to be temporary, no matter who you're with, usually. Now, I want you to understand that passion, intensity, excitement that people talk about and yearn for is essentially dopamine running through your body. What it basically does is that dopamine, that pleasure center in our body, is reinforcing our reproductive urge to connect. When we meet someone new in a romantic way, or quite frankly, even new friendships, our dopamine levels are off the charts. It's what I use the word Twitter patient to describe a feeling, that beginning stage of courtship. So the dopamine rushes through our bodies as we get to know this new person, and our body realizes that it's affecting the way that we eat, it's affecting the way that we sleep, it's affecting what we're focusing on and how we think and feel. I think many of us remember the feelings when we meet someone new in a relationship, and there's all that Twitter patient and dopamine and new sex and new interesting things to talk about, etc. It's new. The brain and dopamine love new. That's just a fact. And however, your body knows that if you were to keep feeling this Twitter patient, this high level of dopamine running through your body, that you wouldn't be eating the way you should be, sleeping the way you should be, focusing on things, and getting work done, and etc. So our body actually pulls back your ability to receive so much dopamine, and the Twitter patient fades. Again, no matter what. So this process where the dopamine receptors go away and the dopamine fades takes between 6 to 18 months in a relationship. So that's not to say that passion can't come and go in different ways in a long-term relationship, that you can kind of keep things new and interesting. It just works in a very different way, and it's difficult, and it takes a lot of work and a lot of willingness by both partners. So this is the bottom line of what I want you to know about this sign, is that dopamine loves new. It loves novelty. So yeah, you're going to feel passionate when someone new intrigues you or engages you. It doesn't always mean that that's a sign that you should leave your current partner for the affair partner. It doesn't always mean that that's a sign that you should pursue that relationship and forsake your current one. I'll make another video, but I have some of it on my website if you want to learn more about this topic. Sign number 5, that your partner may be engaged in an affair. He or she will show notable changes in his or her sexual patterns. So partners engaged in an affair can become either less sexual with you or possibly more sexual, depending on how they handle the guilt from the affair. So I've had clients who tend to have more sex with their partners to try to cover up and kind of gaslight their partner to make them think nothing's going on, because they're showing more interest, and also to cover up their yucky feelings. And then some pull back and don't want to engage in sex with their partner, their primary partner, anymore, because they're caught in that mental trap of feeling like they're cheating on their affair partner, or they can't be that intimate with their partner, because their primary partner, because they feel guilty. Either way, there tends to be some change in their sexual patterns. Whether or not you're engaged in sex with your partner still, or they're abstaining, withdrawing, you'll probably feel like you're hugging a statue, or have a partner who's unwilling to make eye contact with you, or just get that feeling that your partner is just kind of going through the motions, like they're just kind of like an empty robot getting through, because they're giving their emotions and time and energy to another source, which is their affair partner. Now, sign number 6 strongly depends on how your partner is managing the guilt from this affair and what he or she is struggling with in deciding how to move forward now that the affair has happened, or maybe even that he or she is kind of dancing on the outside, flirting with the idea of having an affair. It all depends on that. But partners who are engaged in an affair will respond, or tend to respond, very defensively and angrily when you ask questions or check up on his or her behaviors. So your intuition or your instincts might be screaming out at you when your partner shows up late from work or doesn't return your phone call, or you notice that there's like a interesting phone number that keeps popping up, or you see they're spending a little more time on social media or texting. I don't know, it just, our instincts pick up on this kind of stuff. So if you were to ask questions to try to clarify why your gut and intuition are kind of firing off warning bells, someone who is not behaving in a nefarious way, in a secretive way, should hopefully want to validate your concerns, help you feel safe again, and be comfortable with engaging in that conversation. So, where were you last night? They should be okay with answering that question. Who's been calling you? If they're not doing something secretive or something you wouldn't approve of, then they should be okay with answering that. I called you several times last night. Why weren't you answering? And why do I feel like you're just going through the motions, or you're kind of like I'm hugging a statue? So these are all things that your intuition might pick up on. This is where the gaslighting happens, by the way, and I have a video covering gaslighting. But the Your partner's defensiveness may be accompanied by veiled threats or direct threats of leaving the marriage. And usually the threat involves some kind of gaslighting. So let's say the phone rings and you think it's kind of funny, or you notice it's a block call, or you see that suddenly they're on FaceTime or texting a lot, or in the middle of the night, I don't know, or they're coming home later than you expect, and you inquire. Someone who might be having an affair would probably respond similar to, why are you checking up on me all the time? How can we fix our issues with you being so suspicious and crazy all the time? Maybe if you'd stop checking up on me or asking questions like this, then I would want to have sex with you more often, or maybe we wouldn't have these problems more often. So sign number 6 is a strong sense of defensiveness anytime you kind of come up to them and ask about something that doesn't make sense to you. If this is happening, by the way, I strongly recommend that you discuss this with some trusted friends or family members, people that you feel are safe, to get kind of a second opinion when these things don't make sense to you. Because being gaslighted is extremely confusing. I'd recommend too, maybe you seek out a therapist who has experience in gaslighting or betrayal trauma or signs of infidelity, someone who's kind of well-versed on those subjects, so you can find your footing again. This is an extremely traumatizing part of being cheated on. So sign number 7 that your partner might be cheating is he or she might start removing himself from the family in some way. So there might be an increase in confusing late nights at work, blocked phone calls, moments where you try to get a hold of your partner, but he or she couldn't get to his phone, his or her phone, or he or she didn't have reception. Or I've mentioned this in the previous sign, is just your intuition is shouting out at these moments that he or she needs to go for a late night drive to clear his or her head, or certain business trips to the same place. It's just, look, if things aren't making sense to you, ask for help from somebody. The cheating partner may make regular excuses to avoid being around the family, either the immediate family unit or the extended family unit. Sometimes he or she might also make up excuses not to do family events, like go to family barbecues or birthday parties or couples nights out, because again, they've been working on a narrative in their head about why they are justified in leaning outside the relationship, leaving emotionally and physically leaving the relationship. So it sometimes can be very hard to be face to face with their children or your extended family or other couples in your friendship circle, knowing what they really know is happening inside their head. Here are a few other signs or notes that you might want to make when you're thinking that your partner might be cheating on you. Plain and simple, you just have this feeling like your partner is suddenly untrustworthy, but you try to reason it away, or you hesitate when you're trying to talk things out with your partner and make sense of the unexplainable absences or strange behavior. Sometimes when your partner is having an affair, your intuition and your gut is screaming out at you that it's happening, despite the gaslighting that he or she might do, or his or her defensiveness. Your fear of losing the relationship, or quite honestly, sometimes your fear of finding out that your relationship might be over, or what's really happening is happening, might be too much for you to handle, understandably so. So you find yourself kind of almost not wanting to know. watch for that. Another sign is you find yourself apologizing to your partner when you feel like actually he or she was actually the one who did something shady or harmful. So this is again a part of the gaslighting. So you see some inappropriate email or social media exchanges with someone that you're not comfortable with. You call him or her out on it, and before you know it, you find yourself apologizing to your partner about looking at the computer or snooping or something like that, and you feel bad and you're trying to repair, even though your heart is really hurt from seeing what you saw on the computer. Or I had a client who, again, her husband was engaged in an affair, and so he was just checked out of the family. And at one point, she got really upset at him because he wasn't doing his part in the marriage anymore. He wasn't really helping with the kids. He wasn't, he just was checked out. He wasn't doing basic kind of family chores, being present. And so she called him out on it. And it suddenly turned into, do you know how lucky you are to have someone like me? I know a lot of women out there that would love to be with someone like me. And she suddenly found herself apologizing to him about being upset that he wasn't, I guess, doing his part in the family. Another sign is that you pick up that something's just not right with someone your partner is friends with or works with or has communicated with through phone, social media, or email. Sometimes your partner may go even as far as to criticize that suspected affair partner in an effort to make you think that he or she isn't into them. So I've seen that where I had a husband who was suspicious that his wife was cheating on him with a man at work. And it started with her making fun of that man, that she would make comments that he was a womanizer and schmucky and shady, and she would never be into somebody like that. But it actually turned out she was in an affair with him. I have many clients who have a gut instinct that their partner is cheating on them. And when I ask them who they think it might be, it's pretty scary to know there's a high level of accuracy. When the truth eventually comes out, they were right not only that their partner was having an affair, but they actually knew who it was. Because again, our instincts and intuition and our perception and seeing what's going on and everything, especially when we're in a crisis, is pretty amazing when you really plug into it and listen to it. Another sign is that your partner tends to blame you for a lot of the marital issues. As we all know, it often takes two to tango. So marriages, we all come with our baggage and need to work on our flaws to make a marriage work. But oftentimes when a partner is engaged in an affair and they're engaged in that really negative narrative about you and how bad this marriage is and why they're justified to have this affair, they are placing a lot of blame on you, and they're also unwilling to fix anything that's going on in the marriage. And even if they say they are, again, they tend to not really wholeheartedly be putting the time and effort into it. Another sign is that your partner may express uncertainty in their thoughts and feelings about monogamy. And these comments might kind of seem out of nowhere. I had a client who was engaged in an affair, and again, he was trying to come to terms with it in his psyche so he could kind of sleep with himself at night while he was lying to his wife about it and figuring out which way he wanted to go. And what he would do is he'd look up a lot of articles on affairs and the lack of success for marriage. So basically, he wanted to support his thesis that everybody cheats and what he was doing really wasn't that bad, And it's okay to have an affair behind your partner's back and to sustain it as long as it had been sustained. So his tactic for that was to just look at for articles that supported that. And sometimes he would go home to his wife and say, look, like monotony doesn't make sense. Look how often there's divorce. Look how often look at this article that says no one should be married, that it just doesn't work, and that divorce is fine for children as long as you do X, Y, and Z. And so really, it was just he would find whatever article he needed to support him feeling better about what his actions and behavior were doing to the family. Another huge and common sign is that basically you feel like your partner has become a different person almost overnight. That is the most common descriptor I hear from people who have been cheated on, is they feel like one day they had this partner in crime and they were moving along the path in life, helping to raise their kids and working and making plans towards retirement. Then the next minute, their partner just becomes totally different. They get this really untrustworthy vibe. The things that come out of the partner's mouth who is cheating really, really scares that partner. They feel like their partner suddenly becomes robotic and emotionless. Oftentimes, friends or family or even that person is wondering if the partner is doing drugs or hiding money or something along those lines. But nonetheless, 1 minute partners feel like they have a teammate and that you're both on the same page, and then suddenly your partner becomes a contrarian to everything you thought existed between the two of you, your common love or commitment, your history, your goals, etc. So that concludes my general list of signs that your partner might be cheating. I'll make another video after this about what tends to lead to infidelity, how it tends to happen, and also how partners can recover from infidelity if they so choose. Because again, I don't necessarily believe that every partnership should be saved under any circumstances. I think it's very common for the betrayal that someone feels and the violation someone feels once they uncover that secret addiction or the long-term affair. It is too destructive in their heart and in their life to want to be back with that person, even if there was a willingness, because sometimes a partner just leaves and there's not even an opportunity. But for those who think it is appropriate and safe to try to reconcile after an affair is discovered or an addiction is discovered, I can do a video on what that tends to look like. Please email me with any questions. My email address is linked below, or subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed the contents, or share it. Thank you.